It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance from both teams here.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Right, on the show today, PCB is caught indulging in double standards. They advocate India to keep cricket away from all these geopolitical tensions. But what have they done? The Pakistan Army came out in full attendance to the reopening of the Pakistan Super League. More on this up ahead in the show. Lucknow fails to qualify for the playoffs in the Indian Premier League yet again. Who's to blame for the dismal show as social media erupts, trolling the captain Rishabh Pant and the ownership? And Manchester City experienced a first, not the kind they would like to remember fondly. Is time running out for the Manchester City magician Pep Guardiola? But first, a look at the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with football, Liverpool suffered a rare defeat in 2025. The club lost to Brighton 2-3 in their Premier League clash. This is only their fourth loss in 37 league matches this season. The Reds have already been crowned league winners. With the win, 8th placed Brighton are still in contention for a European spot next year. Spanish club Valencia have threatened to take legal action against the producers of Vinicius Jr. documentary. The Netflix documentary is based on the racism faced by Real Madrid star Vinicius in Spain. This involves racist incidents in matches against Valencia, and the club claims the depiction doesn't correspond with what really happened. In news from tennis, the home to the US Open Grand Slam event, the Arthur Ashe Stadium, is set for an $800 million renovation. The extensive transformation is expected to be complete by 2027. The project will feature a new player performance center and enhanced facilities for fans, in addition to more seating capacity. And prepped for the French Open at the ATP Hamburg event, Alexander Zverev has entered the round of 16. The top seed German beat Alexander Kovacevic in straight sets. Meanwhile, in the WTA Strasbourg event, British star Emma Raducanu too has entered the last 16 with a 6-1, 6-3 win over Daria Kaskina. And summing it up with news from NBA, the league has fined Oklahoma City Thunder star Helen Williams $25,000 for profanity. Following City Thunder's victory over Denver Nuggets, Williams, during a press conference, wore a shirt that featured the F word. Lucknow franchise is out of the Indian Premier League. They lost to the Hyderabad team last night, which snuffed out all possibilities of them making it to the playoffs this season. Another edition with the Lucknow franchise missing out, begging the question, what really went wrong? Because both Lucknow and Gujarat began their IPL journeys together in this league. The two new kids on the block 4 years ago, there was plenty of excitement and vigor, a renewed sense of wanting to establish a legacy. Who gets a chance to do that in a league that has been around for over a decade? But the Lucknow setup has not had a great run, not even making it to the final once. So what is the reason for yet another poor outing? Social media had some reasons that they happily pointed out to while roasting the squad. Jokes aside, let's try to decode it here. I do believe anyone can win the IPL. Yes, any team can win the league. But it does require a few things to come together and come good. First and foremost, a captain, a solid captain. Any franchise and a legacy is built around a strong leadership. Plenty of examples in front of you there. What MS Dhoni did for CSK, Rohit Sharma for Mumbai, Gautam Gambhir for Kolkata, Sanju Samson for Rajasthan, even though it has been a title-less stint. But it has lent to the brand of a franchise and a team. And yes, that comes with time. Shubman Gill over at Gujarat may be on to that for that particular franchise. This list is not too long. But if there is such a thing as legacy, it has to start somewhere. And maybe Lucknow as a setup is struggling with exactly that. They had a positive start with KL Rahul helming affairs at the beginning when they came about. But clearly the energy and seemingly overbearing presence of their owner has put a very abrupt, sudden and manic end to that. In walked Rishabh Pant, someone who had a point to prove and has that pedigree to do that as well. But somehow that has just not clicked. Pant has been lackluster as a batter and even the captaincy journey has lacked that spark. There could be many reasons for that to happen, but to be fair, he had the team and he still does. Lucknow this year, post the auctions, looked decent on paper and had a strong start too, winning 5 out of the first 8 games. But that's the thing about IPL. Another requirement for a winning side is different players stepping up and delivering at different points in the tournament, because that just gives room to momentum not slipping away and star players allowing to have that off day. This hit them hard. The over-reliance on certain players making them miss the mark yet again.
Definitely it could have been one of our best seasons. But coming into the tournament, we had a lot of gaps, injuries, and as a team we decided not to talk about that. But it became difficult to fill those gaps for us. The way we played the auction, if we would have had the same bowling unit, the story would have been different. We take pride in the way we played and take the positives from the seasons than the negative side.
Now, Pant put the blame on the bowling unit and, of course, the unfortunate constant changes that they had to do. Of course, it's not easy, but as a captain too, seems to probably have far more on his plate than he could straddle. If his own personal performance was weighing him down, some of the younger players in the ranks were also giving him plenty of headache. Digvesh Rathi, for one, who got on the absolute wrong foot for his aggressive send-off at the start of the tournament, was penalised. But that definitely did not slow him down. He did it a second time, faced another penalty charge, and that just continued. And rather quietly, resulting in one misdemeanor after another, building up to a moment in the match last night where he got into a bit of a fiery verbal exchange with the man who actually won Hyderabad the game yesterday. He had to be physically separated by his teammates before it got uglier, and that's now resulted in his an additional fine and him having to miss Lucknow's next fixture. I simply have to ask, how has this behavior that is clearly a deterrent to a team that needs to focus on winning and performing on the field, that has a must-win match in their hands, being tolerated? Why has the captain, the think tank and everyone involved in decision-making not sat down with Rathi this season to just rein him in, have a chat with him? And if that conversation indeed happened, why do we still see him behaving that way, which clearly only derails a team's performance, especially in must-win matches? Being fired up is good. Being aggressive is good, has its positives, but there are certain riders for that too. Yes, you have to get the results, or you simply have got to have the stature. Be the superstar that no one can dare to counter. Rathi sure has the talent, but none of the rest. But really, sometimes it's just good to let the bat and ball do all the talking and the sledging. Saves you having to eat your own words. So a lot of these factors make me question just whether some of the basic things needed for a franchise to be in sync, win or lose, was in place here at Lucknow at all. And then, of course, the larger question of the environment in the franchise. Has it been conducive for cricketers to play freely, lose and pick up and learn and move forward? Yes, it's just been 4 seasons, but some signs are best to address as early as possible. The Pakistan Super League or the PSL resumed over the weekend. The domestic T20 tournament finally got underway after a week-long suspension due to rising India-Pakistan tensions. But it was hard to tell whether the opening match was a cricket game or a military drill, because in attendance were the who's who of Pakistan's armed forces. The match between Karachi Kings and Peshawar Zalmi in Rawalpindi saw all top brass in attendance. Yes, top brass, including Pakistan's Chief of Army Staff General Asim Munir and DGISPR Ahmad Sharif Chaudhry. But they weren't just there as spectators. Pakistan Cricket Board Chairman Mohsin Naqvi, who also serves as the country's interior minister, ensured that the PSL became a platform for glorifying the military. The entire PSL season, in fact, has now been officially dedicated to the Pakistan Army, making it look less like a cricket league and more like a celebration of political tensions that are far from over. Such an irony, because this is the same PCB that consistently advocates and encourages everyone, particularly their neighbours India, to think of cricket as something that should stay neutral, away from all of this, that it should not be embroiled in politics, irrespective of geopolitical conflict. Something that cannot be entertained given the way Pakistan and certain popular faces associated with the country have conducted themselves. The country failed to maintain ceasefire firstly, and even after that, with India holding its restraint, their most popular cricketer, Shahid Afridi, went ahead and conducted a victory rally, an act that was misplaced, unnecessary and distasteful. So clearly, maintaining a neutral stance when the neighbour has been the aggressor all along and continues to engage in petty demonstrations that have far-reaching repercussions, like the Pakistani army attending a cricket league, is of course quite difficult to do. On one hand, Pakistan does this, and on the other, their cricketing fraternity, helmed by their PCB chief Naqvi himself, attempt to sing a different tune altogether. PCB chief Naqvi even made a statement that cricket needs to continue because Pakistani fans deserve it all. This statement came after the PSL had to be suspended. And when the league resumed, the same PCB who have been advocating for cricket without politics, cricket without making a statement, cricket for the fans, brought its military to the forefront instead of focusing on the game, on the resumption of their league at home. So much for being neutral, especially from someone like Mohsin Naqvi, who doesn't just head the PCB but also chairs the Asian Cricket Council, ACC. If anyone is expected to and absolutely should stay unbiased, it's him. Because this is not just about Pakistan's cricket affairs anymore. By politicizing the PSL, Naqvi has made a statement that can never be reversed and has put the entire Asian cricketing ecosystem at risk here of combusting. Just yesterday, reports came in that India might skip the upcoming Asia Cup this year. This includes both the Women's Emerging Asia Cup next month and the Men's Asia Cup, which India is expected to co-host with Sri Lanka. That's in some months from now. The BCCI Secretary, Devajit Saikia, may have refuted all these reports, but he did say no final decision has been made yet. Now, that may be true, but I will tell you what's certain, the uncertainty of it all. Of India playing Pakistan in a cricket field when at the backdrop is all the tension that is still simmering with no end game or status quo. Because let's be clear, the BCCI won't go against the Indian government's stance, a sentiment that has been echoed by none other than India's head coach Gautam Gambhir.
Till all this doesn't stop, there should not be anything between India and Pakistan. This is for BCCI and more importantly, the government to decide whether we should play them or not. Whatever decision they make, we should be absolutely fine with it.
And if India does pull out of the Asia Cup, the consequences could be massive, because without India, the Asia Cup loses its stature, its sheen, its commercial plug. The sponsors, the broadcasters, the global viewership all center around Indian cricket. Pakistan clearly is walking on thin ice here, because on one hand they demand neutrality from India, but on the other they politicize their own league with military symbolism. Now, I have to remind you of a time when Pakistan claimed its own cricket system needed a surgery. They sent their players to a military boot camp to ship up. And what was the result of that massive expedition? 3 ICC tournaments that followed, exits in all the group stages of all 3 tournaments, including a dismal showing at the Champions Trophy on home soil in front of their own Pakistan fans. A crumbling domestic structure and no signs of actual reform. So maybe someone needs to tell the PCB the military doesn't help rebuild cricket. That's the neutrality they should be practicing and focusing on more before they expect it from anyone else. Pep Guardiola's Manchester City experienced a very different kind of firsts in the year 2025, and while firsts are always special, this one sure isn't. Manchester City lost the FA Cup title to Crystal Palace over the weekend, marking an end to Pep Guardiola's dominance of winning silverwares every season, unless Guardiola and the City fan base wants to count Community Shield as a consolatory prize. But yes, this year is the first time that since 2016, Guardiola's City hasn't won a major domestic or international laurel. Is Guardiola's cycle at City over, or is the oil money losing its magic charm? Ever since Manchester City signed up Pep Guardiola, the club has been a strong force in English football. The noisy neighbours of Manchester United let their results do all the talking. Unfortunately for the Red Devils, it was the blue that became the more popular colour in the last decade. The Spaniard dominated EPL with 6 league titles and 4 League Cups. He followed it up with 2 FA Cup wins. In the international arena too, Pep Guardiola led City to their maiden and only Champions League glory, won the Super Cup and backed it up with the Club World Cup. He was crowned FIFA's best for this too. And this has been the Guardiola legacy at Manchester City. They could sign on the best players, and they've had the privilege of having some of the best in the business walk through their grounds. It's reasons like these that the otherwise cold and gloomy Manchester has been a preferred destination for many around the world. Top players such as Kevin De Bruyne, Erling Haaland, Rodri or Eke Gundogan, to name a few, ignored the London tax or sunny Spain to work with the best and add more silverwares. But the 2024-25 season was far from this. The club and the manager both experienced a massive cycle of grief, emotions that were hard to go unnoticed, and Guardiola too made it evident. He was angry, frustrated, in denial, and finally the acceptance of it all. The extent was such that Guardiola even hurt himself owing to Manchester City's abysmal run. And it isn't just at Manchester City. Guardiola has won major trophies at every club he's been at. In the 16 years of his managerial career, he's won trophies every single year. So is Pep losing his touch? Because he has nobody to blame this on. Somehow, Guardiola managed to rustle up all the excuses that could exist. Now, it's either a different ball, or the long grass on the pitch, or the absence of Ballon d'Or winner Rodri. But no genuine reason for this fall from grace. He had some of the best players in his lineup, and he was competing against Liverpool, who was in a rebuilding stage under newly arrived manager Arne Slot. Their biggest rivals, Manchester United, didn't have a great season. The club is struggling in the 16th spot at the APL points table. The remaining of the Big Sis, Tottenham, also struggling at 17th. But the irony here is even these two clubs are on the cusp of a silverware, and not a minor one, a European trophy, the Europa League, all only pointing to say how the mighty have fallen. The squad looks deflated, even missing chances in major tournaments. 9 out of 10 times Manchester City under Guardiola is expected to beat Crystal Palace in a cup final. And they came close when their star player Erling Haaland got the penalty. But even that went missing. Maybe the old Guardiola is losing his charm. Sure, the tactics worked for probably a decade, but the old methods clearly aren't working anymore. What this season has done is not only hampered the confidence of all the star players, but has built pressure on Guardiola, whose contract runs till 2027. Yes, he has been an incredible manager for City, but maybe every good thing has an expiry date. Jurgen Klopp called it quits when he felt his time was up at Liverpool. Maybe Man City and Guardiola need to take a decision too. Time for last serve. The football season in Europe and Asia is yet to conclude, but the celebrations are already underway. Football fans in Spain, Portugal, Netherlands and Turkey celebrated their side's league title triumphs. Take a look.
É dos líderes desta equipa, chegou e custou 19 milhões e meio de euros e creio que nenhum sportinguista terá...
À minha direita há 2 espaços reservados exatamente.
Yes, that wraps it up here on Firstpost. I'll of course see you again tomorrow. Till then, do take care. Bye-bye.
At Firstpost, we are choosing to hold on to accuracy. That means we won't always be first. We may not get you your breaking alert. But what you will get is what we owe you. And that is the truth. Verified, checked and cross-checked. We rely on sources and verified ones. After all, that's what separates a journalist from a loudspeaker. But sometimes even we miss a beat. And when we do, we will tell you. Like yesterday, we ran visuals from a registered news agency. That visual turned out to be fake, so we are taking accountability. And from now on, we will cite the source of every visual, every picture, every video that you see on Firstpost will have a source mentioned. That is our commitment to you. We will wait, we will verify, we will ask again, and only then will we tell you. No noise, no panic, just the facts. Because right now, that is what the country needs most.